Okay. Let's start Pei Aleph. That's 81A. And the last thing that we did was why the land of Israel was lost. It was because they didn't bless the Torah first. We explained they didn't appreciate the Torah enough to say a blessing over it. Okay. There's a famous Bach about the giver of the Torah. He just took the Torah without having the giver of the Torah. The blessing of Hashem. Okay, it starts like this. Isi bar Yehuda lay asal masifta de Rabbi Yossi plus the Yaimi. Isi bar Yehuda doesn't show up in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yossi to the shiur, the yeshiva for 3 days. Ashkechei Vardimas Rabbi Yossi. Vardimas, Rabbi Yossi's son. I knew that there was a Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi. I didn't know that there was a Vardimas from other places. Vardimas, Rabbi Yossi's son, finds him. What was going on? How come you didn't come to my father's base medrash for 3 days? Amalei, because I don't understand what your father's saying. Like where it's coming, or where it's going, where it's coming from. Amalei, lemamar, Maika Amalei, Domi Yadana Taime. Says, let the master say, this is Vardimas telling to Isi Bar Yehuda, let the master say what it was that he said, and maybe I'll know the reason. Amalei Hadatanya, say, quotes to him what we learned on the last page. We had this whole thing about if there's a spring and there's which person takes, if the people from that city that have the spring need it for their livelihood and other people need it for their livelihoods, so then the people that own it come first. Rabbi Yossi added in that if the people that own it need it for their laundry, that comes before even other people's life, even other people need it for drinking. Says, I don't understand that. Like we didn't understand it either. But that's a big difference. He didn't understand it, right? Like this fellow said, what's the difference me and Rabbi Kiva Eger? He has these great questions that he doesn't know the answer to, and I also don't know the answer. So what would be a source that the laundry should be so significant? So we know that Rabbi Yossi's view that the grime could make a person crazy. We learned that, right? But that it should come before someone else's life. Amalei Hadatanya. So he says no. I'm sorry. Amalei Diksiv. He said it says in the pasuk Migrashem Yila Behemta. It says that the area that's surrounding cities, it's called a migrash. It's a undeveloped area. You're supposed to leave it for grazing or whatever it should be, and for the wild animals. Well, it doesn't say wild animals. It says for domestic animals and for the non-domestic animals. My chayasam. What do you mean these non-domestic animals? Ilay machaya. If it's just talking about a regular animal, a wild animal, that's the same as an animal. In other places in the Torah, chaya and behema go together. Domestic, not domestic. Alamai chayasam. What does he mean for their animals? Chayusam mamish. Must be talking about for life. What does it mean for their life? No, yeah, I never saw this before. So if it's for actual life, for example, like maybe they need it for drinking water or something, whatever was over there. So pshita, that's obvious. So elalav krisa. He learns from this that it must be that it's referring to when it says for their chayasam, for their life, it's referring to their laundry. the Ketzara der Visa. So he learned from this that the importance of the having the clean clothes, that it shouldn't make a person mad or crazy because of how uncomfortable it is when the clothing is dirty. Okay, it doesn't tell us exactly what was over there that he's using to wash the clothing or whatever, but I guess there was some sort of water there. Okay. Okay. We're saying more than that. We're saying that's on the Gemara before we were discussing why is Rabbi Yossi not careful about the grime on the body, but he's careful only about the grime on the clothing. So we said because the grime on the clothing is much worse because it can make a person crazy. The grime on the body just is like oils or things that he can put lotions on. I'm ignoring that. No. I've been getting a lot of clicks, but I have to ignore that. But it's not. It's almost like not reality. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yossi ein elu nidrei inei nefesh. In the Mishnah, we discussed a woman that says she's not going to shower, not going to bathe, not going to adorn herself. So the sages said that that's considered inei nefesh, and the husband can annul it. That can annul the vow. Not only can he annul it for himself, but he can annul it that even if he divorces her, it remains annulled, and it's annulled for everyone, because this is inei nefesh, it's affliction, that she's not bathing or she's not adorning herself. Rabbi Yossi argued, and he said that this is not inei nefesh. What would be inei nefesh? That would be if she says she's not going to eat fruits, of the world, of that place. We had a discussion over there. Then the Mishnah concludes, Rabbi Yossi. That's the words of Rabbi Yossi. So now the Gemara asks, Rabbi Yossi ein elu nidrei nefesh. We quote the Mishnah, and it says, Iboilu. They had a question in the yeshiva. The Rabbi Yossi ma'u sheyef mishum dvar m'shabeinu lebina. So Rabbi Yossi missed out a point. He was very clear that if she doesn't bathe, it's not considered an affliction to the soul. If she doesn't adorn herself, it's not considered she's afflicted. But he did not say if it's considered a matter that's between husband and wife. In other words, there's two possible ways that the husband can annul his wife's vows. One is that the vows were affliction, and he can take that off. Or if it's a matter that pertains to both of them, that it's a matter between both of them. So Rabbi Yossi just ignored this, the fact that she's not bathing. Is that a matter that's between them? We know his opinion about inei nefesh, but what about as a matter that's between them? So Tashamas, come and listen. Amar Rabbi Yossi ein elu nidrei inei nefesh. These are not nidrei inei nefesh. So we're medayik. We deduce from that. Implies he said clearly that it's not inei nefesh, it's not an affliction, but it sounds like, but it is a matter that's between them. Which the difference would be, can he annul it just while they're married? Gemara says, Dilma l'ditu kamr lahu. Maybe Rabbi Yossi wasn't saying his own opinion. He was talking to the rabbis. Lididi, and he means to say like this, according to me, I feel dvarim shebeina lebeina. I hold that it's not even, this is nothing. This doesn't even affect their relationship in any way if she doesn't shower.
What's Rabbi Yossi's, how did he rationalize the idea that it's not even a question to begin with?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's just his opinion.
Yeah. Some sort of source, like a verse or something.
disagree with whatever you said.
What was that? That someone in France, the king of France or someone had taken a bath before they came to see him. He didn't want to see the person. They didn't want him to get sick. They felt that if they bathed, took off all the protective coatings that they had on their body, and they could get sick much easier. You think so?
But that's against
The grind that it's a problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you touch your eyes, you get the infection in your eye.
Yeah. Mr. Basie wasn't so concerned about that. Let me get a tissue.
Here. Fine. All right, all of our friends in Morocco. We should give you a shout out to you guys. Rabbi Smith is the #1 downloaded rabbi in Morocco.
The Moroccan keep this just like
Casablanca. Casablanca, you ever come Pesach program?
Is it really? Thank you. It's good. It's hot. Okay.
So this is the first time we've learned that there's some kind of an objective standard for when the husband can intervene. It seems to be saying.
Yeah.
It has to be defined as, I'm saying that right?
Well, inoi nefesh. That's one option, and then it doesn't have to do with him. It's just she's not going to eat fruits. That's going to be a problem for her, so he's allowed to annul it.
She says, I'm not going to have a social relationship with Mr. Brown.
That's coming up next. That's what she said. So, what Rabbi Yossi could be, what Rabbi Yossi meant was, according to me, I hold that this is nothing at all. But l'didchu, for you, damrisu have the havin nidjei nefesh, that you say that it's an infliction to a soul. Idly the einelo nidjei nefesh. At least admit to me that it's not in nefesh, that it's not an affliction. I happen to hold that it's not only is it not an affliction, that it's not even a matter between them. But the reason why I said that this is not considered an affliction is because I was talking to you that you hold that it is an affliction. I was telling you at least to go halfway. In other words, we've just lost the diuk. We've lost the implication of what he's saying. We thought that he meant that it's not enough, it's not an affliction, but at least it's beinah lebeinah. That's what Rabbi Yossi held. And now we're saying that Rabbi Yossi held it's not even beinah lebeinah. So why did he say it's not in nefesh? Because he was talking to them, all that it is. So back to the question. What is Rabbi Yossi's view regarding these vows? Well, Rav Ada Barava Imer Mefer. Rav Ada Barava says that he can annul it because it's considered dvarim shebeinah lebeinah. It's matters between them, and he's allowed to annul a vow. Rav Huna Amar Ein Mefer. Rav Huna says that he can't annul it. Look at this expression here. Because you don't find a fox that dies because he stumbles on the dirt that's in his own hole. What this means is that we're concerned she didn't adorn herself. So that means that the hair in her private area is still there. And we're saying that it's not a matter that's going to affect their relationship because the husband is used to whatever she has, whatever hair that she has there. And it's not going to, like the fox doesn't stumble in his own, he has a dirt floor, of course, in his, what's it called, where they hide?
Burrow.
Lair.
Lair. I would say burrow.
Is that a foxhole? I thought the foxholes were the trenches, but I guess they call it those trenches because of the foxes. Here they call it the lair. Okay. So basically, he's used to her. So that's not when she says she's not going to do it. She's not going to adorn herself. He's used to her. Tanya Kava Seder of Ada Barava. Ada Barava said that he is allowed to annul it. Dvarim sheish b'amini nefesh mefer. Matters of inay nefesh, of affliction, the husband can annul. Bein beinai lebeina, bein beinai lebeina cherim. He can annul it whether it's for himself, and he can annul it also if it's for other people. That would mean even after he divorces her, it's still considered annulled. That could be one shot. It also could be whether she forbade fruits of her husband, she won't eat something from her husband, that would be a matter between them. Or she said she forbade eating from other people. That would be not a matter between husband and wife, but that would be an affliction to her, right? So whether it's directly relating to them or whether it's not directly relating to them, the husband can annul it because it's considered an affliction. She'im behem inay nefesh, if it's not an affliction. If it's matters between them, then mefer. If it's matters between other people, then ain't a mefer. Ketzat, give me an example. It says like this. This is all a brisa. It's going to be a support for Avada Barava. It says kainam amra. She says kainam peris alai. Fruits are forbidden to me. He's a yafir. He's allowed to annul it. That would be an affliction. Now we jump to matters that are between her and other people. Kainam sheina isa lefi abba. She forbids doing something for her father, making food for her father. Lefi achicha, to your brother. Lefi avicha, to your father, the mouth of your father. Lefi achi, to my brothers. I won't give water. I won't give straw. She says, I won't give straw to in front of your animal or water to your animal. Those are things that don't affect them directly, husband and wife, because it was all about other people. And it's also not an affliction to her. If she's not going to give water, she's not going to make food for them, it's not an affliction to her, right? Now we go on. If she says she's not going to put on a type of makeup, maybe like a mascara of some sort, it's another type of makeup. They have translations of those. What are they? Yeah, like rouge. What's it called? Rouge. Rouge. The shalaya shamish mitasi, or I won't have relations. That yafir, that he can annul. That would be directly relating to their relationship. Mishum devarim shebeinu lebeina. Now the next thing is, shalayatzialach mitascha. I won't make your bed. She's telling her husband, I won't mix your drink. That was, they would mix wine with water. I won't wash your face, your hands, and your feet. Over there, he doesn't even need to annul it because she can't take a vow on things that she has an obligation to do. Right. Now, the question over here is, what about having relations? That seems like we said that he would have to annul it. We'll have to see soon how that's going to be explained.
Don't fall into either of those categories. What happens to those if the husband, like, do they come back or do they don't? Like when I talk about like the cattle, like the one that's involved with them too, like the one involved with their person.
So he wasn't able to annul it. He wasn't allowed to annul those at all because it wasn't an affliction to her and it didn't involve their relationship. It has to be one of those.
But can you study these Gemaras with your wife?
There's no one answer for everyone. Depends. This is that's the rule. That's the halacha. There's no answer. Yeah,
No,
you have to use your common sense.
one where she can't, she says she's not going to prepare food for his father or his brother.
Right.
That wouldn't affect their relationship. So it's irrelevant to, you can't annul that. Because that's in the first category of.
Right. Right. It's not an affliction for her, and it's not a matter between them.
And might not affect their relationship with each other if she's not.
Yeah, that's an interesting
Your
point.
brother could go to, your father.
That's an interesting
Is that the
point.
standard affective relationship?
I think it was
Well, I think it's
right. Right. I guess it was intimate matters between them. That answers the question.
Part of the course, they would still take effect even though the
Yeah, that was a little a surprising point, but I think the Gemara is going to explain that soon. So, what are we looking for? We're looking for matters that are between them. That Ravada Barava is going to say that it's Ravada Barava says that he's allowed to annul it, and here we see that these are things that he can annul. How do you know that this is Rabbi Yossi? Our whole question was that if it's Rabbi Yossi. We're going to say soon. The Gemara is going to explain this. From Gamliel Eimer, regarding those things that I won't make your bed, or I won't mix your drink, or I won't wash your face and hands and feet. Rabbi Gamliel says Yafir that even though it doesn't need to be annulled because she has a prior obligation that she has to do that anyway. So she can't take a vow that's saying that she's not going to do that. Rabbi Gamliel says, nevertheless, Yafir, Shneimar Layachal Devarik. You shouldn't make your words just like profane and take vows that don't really exist and then just do it. So that's not good. You should actually treat it as if it's a vow so that people will be more careful with their words. Layachal Devarik. Davar Acher, another interpretation. Layachal Devarik. You shouldn't profane your words. Mikan l'chacham shein matir nidrei atzmei. Layachal Devarai. He shouldn't take his own words to annul. He can't annul his own vow. To go to someone else. Ran says over here that usually a davar acher, when we say another interpretation of the pasuk, is because he was learning it from the pasuk. But Ram Gamliel wasn't really learning it from the pasuk. He was saying from the concept. Usually it would be like another davar acher interpretation of the words. So the Ran explains that the Rabbi Gamliel was looking at the word tvarai, even something that's not an actual vow. He shouldn't annul. He should annul. He shouldn't take it so lightly and consider it nothing, even if it's just tvarai. And then the davar acher says that tvarai, that he shouldn't annul his own vow. Yeah, we had before that a chacham could annul his own vow, but I guess from Gamliel's view was not, whoever it is. Remember we had that? We had someone walked out of something and then he annulled his vow. He made one of the other sages angry. He didn't know how to annul it. The person kept asking him questions. Was it, if you would have known this, would you have made the vow? If you would? And then we said, they said, well, I didn't know that I was going to make him so angry. So he walked out and he annulled his vow. I think we understood that he could annul his own vow, or it could have. We said clearly that he could. Anyway, okay. Now the Gemara says, "Man shaminan da'amar shlei echol v'shlei efkes dvarim shebeina lebeina haben." Who is the one that would say that if she doesn't put on this makeup, she doesn't adorn herself, she doesn't put on the rouge, that matters between them? Who's the one that holds that? That has to be Rabbi Yossi. Has to be Rabbi Yossi's view, because the Rabbanan would have said that it's considered an affliction if she doesn't do that. So it must be Rabbi Yossi. And the Ketani de Mefer Mishum Dvarim Shebeinu Lebeina. And nevertheless we said that she can annul it. Must mean this is a support for Avada Barava that says what was Rabbi Yossi's view regarding adorning herself, that it is considered matters that are of intimacy between them, and therefore the husband can annul it. Okay, now we have to go back to discuss what we mentioned in this brisa, that if she says, I'm not going to have relations with you, she tells her husband, so then the husband is allowed to annul it. But the way we understood it, it should have been that he doesn't even need to annul it, because she can't say that, she has prior obligation. Amar Mar, Master taught, that means we're going back to quote the brisa, says Shalei Shamish Mitasi, Yafim Shavdvarim Shebeinai Lebeina. You could annul it because those are matters of intimacy between them. Hechidami, what's the case? What's exactly her wording here? That she's saying something that needs to be annulled. She says that it's forbidden for you to have pleasure, to have benefit from relations. So then why should she need to annul it? She is what's the word? Is obligated. It's obligated to him. So we have to switch it around. She says, I'm prohibiting on myself the pleasure of relations with you. Now, somehow that's able to take effect because she's not obligated to have enjoyment. So she's just prohibiting their enjoyment. Now, Rav Kana, like Rav Kana says, Rav Kana taught that Hanas Tashmishi Alecha, the enjoyment of my relations is prohibited to you. She's telling her husband, that he can force her to have relations because she has no right to take a vow like that because she's obligated to him. But Hanas Tashmishi Chalai, but if she takes a vow that she's not going to have enjoyment from him, so then Yafer, then he should annul it. Shein machil nasadam davarasalik. You're not supposed to feed someone something that they're prohibited from eating. So since she's prohibited from having that enjoyment, so he won't be allowed to have relations with her. If she would have said that she's not having relations with him, so then that would have been not a vow at all. But she's saying that he's not having relations with her. So then that's considered a vow, and it has to be annulled. Okay, but we worked it out. Mantana, it's about the wording, right? Mantana Hadatanya, who's the author of the following that taught in this brisa? Varam hamutarim ba'achirim naga b'misa. Iyata rashay lenig b'mheter k'dei levatlam mishum shnem liyachal dvari. Now, what we're learning now is that even something that's not really prohibited. What we just learned is that if someone takes a vow, certain types of vows that don't even need to be annulled, but nevertheless you should get them annulled so that you shouldn't take your words so lightly. It's not a real prohibition, but just because it seems like it could have been, you should get it annulled, just like that. To go over the clear halacha, you should be extra strict. So in that vein, we're saying that if some people consider something prohibited, others should not behave and should not do that, even though they know that it's prohibited.
Everybody dump out their coffee.
So dvarim hamutarim, things that are permitted. Ba'achirim naga b'misur, but some people consider them prohibited. Yeter rashay lenig b'mheter. You're not supposed to take it lightly in front of them. K'dei levatlan, just to annul what they're doing. Mishum shnem alayachal dvari. We learned from Layachal Devara that just like by a vow, that it's not a real vow, you have to take it serious to annul it. So people don't take it lightly. So too, any sort of behavior that people think is prohibited, even though you know that it's not, you shouldn't just mistreat it because people say, oh yeah, it doesn't matter,
I don't understand this.
Yeah,
What does that say? I'm confused.
others. So yeah, it's used like it's used for in America. People don't shower on Shabbos. Technically you could take a cold shower on Shabbos. But since people consider it prohibited, so you're not supposed to go ahead and do it, even though theoretically you could be permissible. So achirim nagam emiser. Everyone thinks it's not allowed. You're just going to go and show everyone in public that you can do this. That's not people. They look at it like yeah.
Public shower.
Right.
Is the importance of minhag.
But I see what you're saying. This would be kind of burning question. One community, the custom.
Yeah, we would consider this customs, but it's actually considered halacha. It's actually how do you know? It's actually considered halacha that you're not supposed to. It's not just a custom. Okay, davar acher.
Be right back. By the
Okay.
way, the Fox is in Alira. Borough is the Bronx.
Oh. Boroughs.
Ashkenazim don't. At least not in America. Davar acher. Another interpretation of this. Layachal Devarim shouldn't take profane his words. He doesn't
live in a borough. He lives in a den. He lives in a den. Cub Scouts, that's right.
So, who's the author of this that says that a Talmud Chacham should not annul his own vows? Mani Rabbi Gamliel, it's Rabbi Gamliel. So we have, if it's Rabbi Gamliel, we also have Rabbi Gamliel, is the one that's saying the first part, I guess, that Dvarim HaMutarim should not be mistreated. Right. That's what we're bringing. Okay, boy mine Rava mir Rav Nachman. Rava asks Rav Nachman the following question. Tashma shamita l'Rabbanan. Relations. Is that inay nefeshu? Is that an affliction? If she somehow gets a vow in there that she's not going to have relations, which the husband was allowed to. The husband, of course, is allowed to annul it. Our question was if he even needs to annul it. But let's say it's in a case where he's allowed to annul it because the wording that she used was that she's not going to have enjoyment from relations. And that way the vow would take effect and it has to be annulled. So when it's annulled, is it annulled in a way of inay nefesh, that it's an affliction to her, and so therefore the husband's allowed to annul it? And in that case, if he annuls it, then even if she gets divorced and she marries someone else, it remains annulled. Or is it a matter of intimacy between them? In that case, if he annuls it, it's only annulled for them. But if she gets divorced and marries someone else, then the vow would resurface. This relation is refraining from relations a matter of affliction or not. Now, the truth is, on Yom Kippur, we say that it is a matter of affliction. Afflict yourself, but that's not a biblical law. That's we're not. That's just it's a deraisa, I think, but it's
Affirmations.
I think so. No? On Yom Kippur.
What is Tashmishi?
Tashmish Amital the Rabbanan, according to Rabbi Yossi, according to the Rabbanan that argues with Rabbi Yossi. What would Rabbi Yossi say? Why do we have to ask specifically according to the Rabbanan? What would Rabbi Yossi say? Yossi would say the same thing. No, we know what Rabbi Yossi says. Rabbi Yossi says that this is considered dvarim shebeina lebeina. That it's not a matter of affliction. That's what we think, right? Because he says in the Brisa, we said, we know what Rabbi Yossi's view is. Question is, do the Rabbanan agree with that? Is it a matter of affliction? Rabbi Yossi did not have a large category of matters of affliction. His categories of matter of affliction was much smaller than the Rabbanan. We're asking, according to the Rabbanan, would not having relations go under the category of a matter of affliction? Amalei Tanisua. So Reb Nachman says, we learned this in the Mishnah. It's the Mishnah further on. It says, "V'netulani mina Yehudim." Let's see, she says that I'm removed from all Jews. I don't want to have any benefit from them. I don't want to have any benefit from any Jews. Well, he's a Jew, the husband. So this is problematic. So Yafre Chalka Yemeshamashte. He annuls his portion of that vow. Apparently, he's able to annul part of a vow. We had a discussion before if this works, and it's going to come up further on also. I thought when you annul a vow, the whole vow gets annulled, right? Didn't we have that? We'll see soon.
This one would be one that would resurface.
It's not only will it resurface, but it's for everyone. But whatever, she wasn't saying specifically relations, marital relations. I think she was talking about any sort of benefit, unless it says specifically that it's marital relations.
Here it says engaging in intercourse.
Oh,
It's forbidden to all Jews.
okay. Okay. That could be. And she's removed from all other Jews. And if you say that it's considered inei nefesh, that it's an affliction to the soul, so he was allowed to annul anything that would afflict her soul. Well, his portion he annulled.
She makes this sword. All Jews or all other Jews?
All Jews. All Jews. So it's affecting her husband. But it also affects her. If it's only affecting her and her husband, like that Beinai lebeina, then he could annul it. But if they get divorced and she's going to marry someone else, then she would be prohibited, and that's what it seems to be saying here. But if it's an affliction for her, then he would annul it, and it would be totally annulled, even if she marries someone else.
All other Jews, it wouldn't include her husband.
Right. So it is including her husband. That's why he has to annul it. Okay.
Right. That's exactly my question. It doesn't affect him. He has no say in that. But it does
Unless it's a matter of affliction.
No, I'm saying this all other Jews, it doesn't affect him.
Doesn't affect him, but if it's an affliction for her, then he's still allowed to annul it, even if it doesn't affect her.
Why would it be an affliction on her?
Because she can't have relations with him. She's removed. She's not going to have any benefit from any Jews. Well, if she would get divorced, then that would be an affliction. No, but we learned. I understand, but that could be still an affliction. we learned that if she would need this person, he would be allowed to annul it for. If she's restricting herself from getting benefit from people that she might need, that could be considered an affliction.
We learned a little while ago that if she's made for another, then when she gets divorced,
It
all of his
resurfaces.
made for her,
Yeah.
his arm are back.
That's only if it's beinah lebeina, not if it's an affliction.
No, but let's say she's not Sahadi Karen. She's made for another. When they get divorced, she's
It
no
doesn't
longer-
come back.
She's Sahadi Karen. Nothing with them, right?
It doesn't have to do with him, but because it's an affliction for her,
Okay, fine. She makes him a nether that says.
I'm not
whatever
going
it
to feed so and so.
is. Okay, fine. It's not an affliction on her. She gets divorced. His hafara is gone and she's back to having to serve that nether, right? We said that.
Yeah, that was only if it was matters that related to both to the two of them. But if it was an affliction to her, that was the difference between if it's inay nefesh or beinah lebeina, then it does come back. So now that's basically what
So
our question is
basically,
now.
She shouldn't
is-
have any say on what happens to her after she gets divorced. Because it's
Inay nefesh, so then he does have a say. Yeah. So that's a question with relations. Is relations in inay nefesh, and when he annuls it, it's totally removed, or is relations just a matter between them, and then when he annuls it, it's only annulled for between them. So Rav Nachman says, you see, it's a matter between them. It's not a matter of affliction. So Rava responds. He says, "L'Rabbanan tibayilach mishum netulan nena Yehudim Rabbi Yossi k'tanila." I was asking what the rabbi's view is. I wasn't asking what Rabbi Yossi's view is. Amar Rav Huna kulam pirkin Rabbi Yossi, because Rav Huna said that the whole chapter is Rabbi Yossi. Now, where do we get that? Mimai. How do you know that the whole chapter, this chapter 11 of Nedarim is Rabbi Yossi? Where do you get that from? Kivan diktani Rabbi Yossi Emer ein elu nidrei nefesh. Since Rabbi Yossi says in the first Mishnah, says that these are not inay nefesh, when it talks about bathing and adorning yourself. Lama le su lemisnei hareze yafer divri Rabbi Yossi. Why does it conclude that he's allowed to annul them? These are the words of Rabbi Yossi. Why does it have to say these? We started off with Rabbi Yossi holds. We have to conclude again. This is what Rabbi Yossi holds. Shema mina, what it means to say is mikan ve'elach Rabbi Yossi. Doesn't mean Divrei Rabbi Yossi what was said previously. Rabbi Yossi is going on what we're about to say. Divrei Rabbi Yossi, the colon. Now let's give us the whole list of what Rabbi Yossi was going to say afterwards. This is Rabbi Yossi's talk that what he's about to say. It should mean that this is Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta, is the student of Rabbi Akiva. But which would mean that the end of our Mishnah really belongs, Divrei Rabbi Yossi at the end of this Mishnah really belongs as a heading to the following Mishnah, not as a conclusion to this Mishnah. Right? That's what the Gemara said. That's what Rav Huna is saying. So Shema Mina Mikan Ve'elach Rabbi Yossi. Okay. So he was asking this question according to the Rabbanan. I don't know if it's going to get answered or we just drop it. It seems like we're just going to move on now. Oh, the Ran over here discusses this. Linyan halacha, it's not answered, and so therefore you have to be strict. And it's only annulled as beinah lebeina. If she ever takes that vow, it would only be annulled. However, there are those that say that even though it wasn't answered, but you can answer it from what Shmuel is going to say soon. But the Ran rejects that. Okay. So we move on. Amar Shmuel Mishmei de Levi. Shmuel says in the name of Levi. Levi was a student of Rebbe. Remember Levi? He was limping once.
Rabbi Shua ben Levi.
Rabbi Shua ben Levi's father. That's what they think. His name was Levi ben Sisi. and he one time said something that was like disparaging, and then he also tried to show Rebbe how they bowed down, how the Kohen Gadol would bow on his thumb or something, and he ended up hurting himself and he lived. It was Levi.
That was Levi.
We have machlekes and sometimes Rav and Levi.
What do we end up temporarily?
Yeah, but it's not during the time of the Beis Hamikdash. He wouldn't have seen it.
No, he wouldn't have seen. He wouldn't have seen the Kohen Gadol. He was just showing. It was just modeling.
This is how they do this.
Okay. So kol nedarim bal meifel ishti chutz min hanasi al plini sheini meifer. A husband can basically annul any vows that his wife makes, except if she says that I don't want so and so to have any benefit from me. She says that. So that doesn't affect her because it only affects the other guy, the other lady, let's say. And doesn't affect him because what does he have to do with that? So, she'ena mefer. Avlanas plini alai mefer. But let's say she says she doesn't want so-and-so to give her benefit, that he's allowed to annul, because that's a matter of affliction, if she would ever need this person's help. So the only thing that would be not an affliction would be if she would say that her benefit on the other person is prohibited. Okay. Now the truth is that this is just one individual, so she can get whatever benefit she needs from someone else. This is not like a major affliction. So it's a chiddush here.
Confirming what we said previously, that when it's forbidden to you, you wouldn't have to say anything. When she said it was forbidden to me, you would have to nullify. This is actually did take place.
Yeah, that was a different issue. That was a different issue because that was something that she wasn't allowed to make that vow anyway. She says that his enjoyment is prohibited from her. She wasn't allowed to she couldn't take that vow anyway. It was only when she was prohibiting her own enjoyment, then that was permitted. But now she's saying that she doesn't want to give so-and-so enjoyment, some other guy or person any benefit from her. So that doesn't affect him and it doesn't affect her. It's not an affliction to her. So the husband cannot annul it. But aval hanas plaini alai, but if so benefit from so-and-so prohibited to me, this is what she says, then the husband can annul it because that's an affliction to her, even though she can get benefit from anyone else in the world. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. You can ask a question on what Shmuel says in the name of Levi. It says, Peiros Medina Zualai. She says she's not going to have fruits from such and such a place. Morocco. So, Yavilami Medina Acheres. The husband can't annul it. He can't annul it. Why? Get her fruits from another place. Again, the Ran said that from their own country, she didn't vow that she's not going to eat. It was from, imported fruits. So get from somewhere else. Amar Rav Yosef. So 1 second, I didn't explain the question. The question here is that to forbid one country was not considered an affliction because go get from somewhere else. So forbid one person should not be an affliction either because go get benefit from someone else. Why is this considered an affliction? Just one out of, what is it? 7 billion? How many people are there? 7. Oh, yeah. Amar Rav Yosef. So here's a kasha. It's a problem for Shmuel because Shmuel said, in the name of Levi, that benefit from one person was considered restricting benefit from one person was considered an affliction, but restricting fruits from one country was not. Amar Rav Yosef the Kamar Shatavi. Rav Yosef says you're missing a major part of that vow. The vow was she wasn't restricting fruits from Morocco. She was restricting the fruits that he brings from Morocco. So therefore, fruits from Morocco are permitted if someone else brings them. So that's why.
She didn't want her husband. I saw that.
So that's why. I'm not even going to ask you which one. So that's why it's not considered an affliction to her, because she can get the fruits from whatever country she prohibited. She can get those fruits, just she's prohibiting the ones that he brings, which is fine. So, the Ran discusses over here. If she says any fruits that you bring, I'm not eating, so then that's considered a matter between them and could annul it. But if she says fruits that you bring from there, so because she can get fruits from other places from him, that's not a matter between them. But and as long as she can get other people to bring fruits from there. So she has from everywhere. She has her husband's giving her fruits from every country except for one. And even from that country, she can get from someone else. So that would be a vow that he would not be able to annul, because it wasn't a matter of affliction, it wasn't a matter between them. Okay. So we answered the question. Let me go back to the question. The question was that Shmuel says that if she prohibits one person from giving her benefit, we said that he could annul it because that's a matter of affliction for her. She's not going to get benefit from one person. We said, but how does that compare to the country where she's not getting fruits from? We said that wasn't a matter of affliction. One country get from somewhere else. No, over there she was getting from that country as well, just through someone else. But over here, that person is absolutely no benefit from, and that's why that's considered a matter of affliction. Yeah. Any question?
When she takes a vow that she doesn't want to have fruits from her husband, wouldn't that contradict that he has to provide sustenance for her?
He could be providing, and she's just not going to benefit. I'm not eating tonight. Tashima, and the same question again. Peris chen v'nizeh alai. She says, I'm not eating fruits from that store. So, ein yachal afer. He can't annul that because get from another store. It's not an affliction. Problem is, if she says she's not having benefit from one person, according to Shmuel, that's a matter of affliction. So one store is the same. Should be a matter of affliction. What's the difference, one person or one store? That's what she meant anyway. That she doesn't want to go to that store. Doesn't want that guy. Well, the Gemara answers the same answer. I'm not taking fruits from that store that you buy. But if someone else buys it from there, I'll take it. So therefore, she's still getting benefit from that store, and that's why it's not a matter of affliction. Okay. Now the Gemara says, let's say that store was the only one that gave them on credit. Then she says, I'm not having benefit from that store. Then that's already a matter of affliction. That's the only store that. Now, and if you're going to answer it the way that you were just answering it, that getting fruits from that store is only because you're bringing it. Why is he allowed to annul it? She can get fruits from that store from someone else bringing it on behalf of the husband and putting it on the husband's credit. But someone else can bring it. So this can't be the pshat. Ella midaseifa delay maisi bal. It must mean that the husband is not. We're not talking about what the husband brings. We're talking about any fruits from that store, and that's why they can annul it, because she's going to not have any fruits from that store. If that's the case, that she's not getting any fruits from that store, then that would mean habiresha de kamaisihi. Then in the first case, when it's talking about she's not getting fruits from the store, even though that's not the store that would give them, that's not the only store that would give them on credit. but we're not talking about the husband bringing it, we're talking about she's bringing it, or anyone else that's bringing it. So now we're going back to, we just lost our answer. When she's prohibiting a store, she's prohibiting the store entirely. And we say that that's not considered an affliction. So therefore, when she prohibits benefit from one person, that's also not considered an affliction. Rather, the Reisha is, she's not able to annul, even though she would be the one that's bringing it, not the husband. And the husband can't annul that vow, and it's not considered an affliction. So how are we going to explain this? This would be a question on Shmuel. So the Gemara says, Masnisin Rabbi Yaisi. But our Mishnah, it's not a problem because our Mishnah is Rabbi Yaisi. And what does it mean? What does it mean that he can't annul it? Mishum inu nefesh. Can't annul it because of inu nefesh. Because Rabbi Yaisi has a very small range of what's considered inu nefesh. And Rabbi Yaisi would hold that not getting benefits from one person is not considered an affliction. And not getting benefit from one store is not considered an affliction. And not getting benefit from one country is not considered an affliction. But according to the Rabbanan, which Shmuel is following, they're not getting benefit from one person, not getting benefit from one store, not getting benefit from one country could be an affliction. This phrase that we have over here is not so clear that this is really supposed to be here, but let's say it. But Rabbi Yossi would still hold that he's allowed to annul vows that if that would matter between them. Okay. Do you have that in your Gemara? Some take it out. As a matter of affliction. Okay, so you have it printed in there. Okay. Amar Rav Yehuda Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel. Nadra mishtei kikaris. Let's say she takes a vow that she's not going to have 2 loaves of bread. Now, ba'achas mis'ana, ba'achas ein mis'ana. One of them causes her affliction, and one of them doesn't cause affliction. Now, we're not causing eating the bread causes the affliction. We're talking about not eating the bread causes the affliction. Because one of them is nice, a nice loaf, it's a good loaf, and if she doesn't eat it, Dax.
She's not going to eat it.
This is the old-fashioned advertisements, right? This is Pepsi, you know. So one of them is an affliction for not eating, and one of them is not. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel that because he's allowed to annul the one that's causing her affliction, he's also allowed to annul the one that's not causing affliction. Gets drawn in to his permissibility of annulling because it's really all one vow. She said, I'm not going to eat both of those. Ravasi Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Ravasi says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that you can break up that vow and you only annul the one that is the affliction. Okay.
The poor quality loaf is not nullifiable.
Right. Now over here is where we go back to the point that we said before. If she takes a vow that she's not going to have benefit from any Jews, and the husband is Jewish, so he was allowed to annul his portion of that vow. What about everyone else? She's prohibited. Comes Shmuel over here and says that you can annul both of them for both loaves. It's a contradiction. How could Shmuel say that the part that wasn't an ino gets drawn in, and you can annul because you're annulling one loaf, you get to annul the other one, and when the husband is annulling, he's not going to have benefit from any Jews. He's annulling only his part, and he can't annul everyone else. The Ran says that there's a difference between if the vow is being annulled because it's a matter of intimacy between them, where over there he can only annul the part that's relevant to him, or if it's annulling the vow because it's a matter of affliction, where he can annul everything that's part of that vow. That's how he answers this question. Bottom round over here. Okay. Ikad Amri Baimine Ravasi Rabbi Yechanan. There are those that say that Ravasi asked Rabbi Yechanan, Nadra Mishtei Kikaris. She took a vow from 2 loaves. Ba'achas Masana Ba'chasein Masana Mahu. What would be the rule? One of them is causing her affliction by not eating, and one of them is not. Amalei Meifel Masana Vein Meifel Shena Masana. She can annul the one that's, he can annul the one that's causing the affliction and not the one that's not causing the affliction, which was the opinion of Basi and Rabbi Yechanan. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Wow.
You'll be away tomorrow?
Have a good day. No, I'm actually here this week. I'm away next week.